figure it out. So let me get this up here. So we had land, labor, financial capital, entrepreneurship. All of these things are coming from the households, going to the business firms. So in exchange for those things, we call these factor costs. So the bottom half of that circle, going from the households to the business firms, those are factors of production. In exchange for those things, these are the factor costs. They cost the businesses to be able to have land. The cost for that is rent. So I have an extra piece of property, and I know that your donut company wants to build a factory, wants to build a storefront on my property. You may try to buy my property, but I'm not willing to do it. So we come to a compromise where you offer to rent that property and build this donut shop, and in that deal, I get free donuts for life. In addition to the rent that you are paying me, that's how you convince me. What happened in the animated story of Up? What happened to that house? At the very beginning of the movie, what was going on around that house? Construction. And what was the owner of that house unwilling to do? Sell. So, that is a great idea, but unfortunately I can't justify watching that movie today. Now, have you ever seen that happen in real life?
If I bring it, can we watch it?
You ever seen that happen in real life or seen pictures of that where people have held out against a business and refused to sell their home when there is massive buildings or skyscrapers up next to this tiny little 1 or 2 story home?
Oh yeah, like in Hitchhiker's Guide to the
There are, I've not seen that one. There are all kinds of pictures out there of people that have done that where the company cannot force them to sell and they refuse to give up their home, and so the company actually builds around their home. Anybody been to New York City and seen Macy's or watched the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade on TV? Like Thanksgiving Day, nobody watches the parade? No? Okay. What kind of society? This is before football starts. This is like in the morning. You may be sleeping at that point of the day. Yeah, maybe. Okay, they have the massive balloons and the bands and all kinds of stuff. Man, I feel like I am just not connecting right now. Okay. The Macy's store in New York City, at one time, and I don't know if it's still true, but at one time it was the world's largest department store. I think they may still be the world's largest department store. They wanted a full city block for their new department store back in the 1920s or 19-teens. They bought up all of the property in this city block except for one place. Right on the corner, this one individual refused to sell to them. Now, there was a competitive store, and I can't remember the name of the store. It might have been Bloomingdale's, but I don't remember for certain. They went to that person and they offered to buy their land, and the guy agreed to sell it to the competitor store. The reason why, and let's just use Bloomingdale's as the example, the reason why Bloomingdale's wanted that was to prevent Macy's from building their store, because that would have been a massive blow to their business down the street. And so they bought this little tiny corner piece of property, and of course they were never going to sell that to Macy's. So Macy's said, fine, we're not going to build our store to fill an entire city block, but we are going to build our store and we're going to alter our plans to build it on that entire city block except for the property we don't own. So there is a notch in the building at Macy's in New York City that they have disguised with the massive billboard. It's a big red billboard that says Macy's, and it's red, it's got a white star, and it says Macy's right across from it, or right on top of it. And if you look carefully at that photo or that picture, or you go there, below that billboard there's a tiny little shop. Today it's a sunglasses hut that is not associated with Macy's because Macy's could not buy that corner of the property. I didn't know that till just a few weeks ago, and I've been to New York a number of times, and I found that out. I'm like, man, that's awesome. There is capitalism at its best. But right here, if you are wanting to complete this circle here, rent is what you're going to give in exchange for that land. So we said labor is going to be given from the households to the business firms. What do you expect in exchange for labor? Wages. You do a job, you expect to get paid. And I know there's already some of you that are thinking in your minds, Mr. Jones, we work in school. Like, I expect my paycheck anytime now. No, you are getting paid in the form of an education. And no, this is not the time to bring up the discussion about whether college athletes should get paid or not. That is for another day and another time. But wages are your payments for the labor that are used to produce the goods and services. So if I am opening up a donut shop and I decide that I'm going to hire each and every one of you to work in my donut shop, I have to pay you. The government says so. I'm going to pay you wages. Now, we're going to come up with an agreement to where I say for every donut that you make, I'm going to pay you so many dollars or so many all-you-can-eat donuts or that type of thing. But those are going to be the payments that you get in exchange for the labor that you provide. For the person that is loaning us money, remember we said we had to have $50,000 to get our business opened. We didn't have $50,000, so we went to somebody that did. He loaned us that starter money. In exchange for that money, there is an agreement that is made, and he is hoping to get interest back on that money. So we make an agreement where we say we will pay back that $50,000 plus a percentage of interest for the use of that money. He's not just going to give us $50,000 for free. And that's something else I want you to consider when you are doing your projects in these real-life scenarios. If you're going to go out and you're going to look for a car, and you're going to buy a car, and you decide that you are going to take out a loan to pay for that car, you need to know how much you are paying in interest. Same thing with a house. And when we get to Dave Ramsey next quarter, he will talk about his philosophy on paying cash versus credit and that type of thing. And I don't know of a whole lot of people that can pay cash for a house. I know people that can pay cash for a car, but cash for a house is a pretty big undertaking that may be part of your financial goals, and we'll talk about that another day. But if you look at the price difference from paying cash versus borrowing that money, it's incredible. Over the course of that loan, how much more you pay, and that is the bottom line that you always should look at when you are taking out a loan for whatever it is, even if it's college loans. You need to ask the financial advisor, or you need to be able to do the math yourself and find out over the course of the next 5 years, 10 years, 30 years, how much money am I giving you? How many of you have had to do that in a math class and had to figure those numbers? A couple of you have? Okay. You know how to? Okay. The first time I did that, it just blew my mind away because it was where I was thinking, all right, I'm borrowing $10,000 for a car, but by the time I'm done paying based on my interest rate, I'm going to give them an extra $2,000 or whatever it was. And I just thought, man, that's $2,000 I could be using to spend on a whole lot of other things except for interest. But the households are going to expect interest back if they loan you money. Profits. This is what the entrepreneurs expect to get for their work in entrepreneurial activities. In putting together the business, creatively marketing the business, making sure that he has all the resources working well together, he expects to get those profits. There is always risk involved. And those of you whose parents own businesses, you could probably talk about this even better than I could. But there's always risk involved in operating your own business and becoming an entrepreneur. But if you do it well, you seek to gain the profits from it. That completes the first element of the circle. Now, when we start throwing in other things like government, it starts to get even more complicated. And we'll do that a little bit more the next time we get together.